This is my first BCCD, and I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for organizing, Gil, and thanks for all of you. I look forward to meeting new people. This talk is collaborative work with my graduate student who's nearly done and looking for postdocs. Zoe Finiasz, this is her dissertation. I'm just here on her behalf, so I will do my best to represent it. Already it's been said that in the last two speakers, systems of shared beliefs are a common feature of social groups. A lot of times these beliefs can be innocuous, like sharing a belief that a certain sports team or pop star is the best in the world, or believing crazy theories about plot holes in your favorite TV show, or believing maybe in the utility or importance of certain group rituals or conventions or norms. For some groups, however, beliefs are incidental to group identity. They just happen to be something we believe, but we belong to that group for other reasons. But for other groups, Swifties and Dookies are good examples of this. Beliefs are central to and also a defining characteristic of what it means to belong. For these kinds of belief-based groups, upholding group beliefs signals a desire for continued inclusion in the group and a continued trust and cooperation among group members. It's perhaps for this reason that those kinds of shared beliefs, or you might want to call them ideologies, are really hard to change. This phenomena of belief persistence has been studied a lot in political science and social psychology with political ideologies. And findings from research in these areas finds that shared beliefs persist even when they're not supported by evidence or contrary to evidence. Conspiracy theories are a really good example of this. It's one of the reasons that Zoe really likes this work, is she's really into conspiracy theories. And in fact, presenting evidence can have the opposite of the intended effect that makes people sort of dig down into their beliefs and increase their commitment to them. There's a really good paper by Eric Mandelbaum that reviews some of this data. So when it comes to political attitudes, sometimes people think that the other group has more bad beliefs than we do, but it turns out not to be the case. Beliefs that are unsupported by or even contradicted by evidence are present in both sides of the political spectrum, at least, suggesting that holding on to these kinds of beliefs and being resistant to changing them is a characteristic of groups with shared ideologies, not some unique feature of some groups over others. If it's a characteristic of groups, maybe it's fundamental to our cognition and therefore early emerging. So now I've just repeated what Gil started the symposium with. I had no idea I was getting to intro my intro. So we set out to answer this question: is there an early emerging tendency to hold shared beliefs that persist despite counter evidence? You got a little answer of that already. I'll add something to hopefully what Hannah said. And what we have to contend with is we know from decades of research, this is my dissertation, right? That children are rational belief revisers, that if they have strong evidence and weak priors, they're definitely gonna change their mind. If they have strong priors and weak evidence, probably not so much, and that this process can be characterized as a kind of Bayesian updating. Not only is that true of their observations of the world, but also of their information search. Atsura Gary is here today. Again, a great paper very recently came out on this. But in children's exploratory play, in their question asking, they're also quite rational when they look for information. Dave Sobel and I have argued that learning from testimony can also be seen as rational learning. Children prefer selectively to learn from people who have demonstrated prior knowledge of a topic, who are experts in that topic, who have been reliable in the past, etc. There are studies that show that sometimes children prefer to learn from in-group members over out-group members, but in most of the scenarios in these studies, it's set up in such a way that the in-group member seems like maybe an expert on one social or cultural group and has the kind of relevant knowledge that you'd need. And so it's not really oppositional to a rational account. It's rational to say, I want to learn my language from someone who speaks my language, for example, or I want to learn social norms from someone who follows the same ones that I'm supposed to. But in the last year, 2025 was a big year for this research. 2 studies came out that show that group identity can interfere with rational learning. This study by Hominis et al. Showed that if you assign children to a team, to one of 2 teams, and their team is likely to win if they search efficiently for information, they'll search more efficiently even than baseline. If their team is likely to lose if they're gonna search efficiently, they'll search inefficiently on purpose. or maybe on purpose somehow. And then the study that was just talked about, I don't have to go through, that has another cool component that Hannah didn't talk about, which is that children did some active information search, and they actually avoided information that would have contradicted their group. By avoiding this information, they ended up not learning quite as well. So in these studies, this work already suggests that belonging to a group can interfere with rational information search. But once evidence is acquired, children did use the evidence to shift their beliefs. They just simply avoided acquiring the evidence in a rational way. So what we looked for was a case where there's clear, undeniable counter-evidence presented to kids that they notice and remember, but that they still don't change their minds. And we're also in particular interested in what happens if the belief itself is a basis for group identity. We used a Blicket paradigm, a little toy box that lights up and plays music when you put certain objects on top of it. We did this with 4- and 5-year-old children, and participants were randomly assigned to one of 3 conditions. Before anything else, in all 3 conditions, children were shown 2 blocks, a purple and an orange block, and we asked them which block makes the machine go. And they made a guess. And then if they, for example, the child guessed orange, we'd put the guess of orange into the go box and the guess of purple into the no-go box so they could see and remember. In 2 of the 3 conditions, we then introduced them to a puppet. Puppet was Monkey, and he said, "Hi, my name is Monkey. I also think that the orange blocks make it go, and I'm on the orange team." In the belief contingent condition, children were also told by the monkey that all of the people on the orange team think the orange blocks make the machine go, and you can be on the orange block team too because you also think the orange ones make the machine go. So they can be part of the group because they hold the same belief. The contrast was one where the team member holds the same belief, but the belief is not a criteria of group membership. So all of us on the orange team are really nice, and you can be on the orange team too because you're also really nice. And then we had a group of kids in a control condition which had no puppet, just the standard belief revision. After this, they saw some counter evidence, and the counter evidence was 100% of the purple ones made it go, 2 out of 2, and 100% of the orange ones didn't. We put them in the go and the no-go boxes, so now in each box you have evidence that purple ones work, and then you have your initial endorsement, and then in the green box, I don't know if my pointer's, oh yeah, it is. So these are the 2 boxes, and then we just did a memory check, all the kids passed. Where are the blocks that make the machine go? Can you show me where those are? Where are the blocks that didn't make the machine go? Can you show me where those are? So they can describe the data. The dependent variables were 2 new final endorsements. Same question, 2 blocks, which one makes the machine go? We did one with the puppet in the room with them, and then we told the puppet to say goodbye. We removed the puppet, and we did one more. And this is just to check whether children would continue to endorse whatever belief they were going to endorse, even when their group member was absent. We know that there's a lot of effects of reputation on what children say they believe, and so we wanted to take away that possibility. Okay, I'm whipping through things because of the time, but this is just the control condition, right? All the kids said that the blocks that made the machine go when there was no puppet. So that's not surprising. What might be more surprising, especially given the data from the last talk, is that in our case, all the children revised their beliefs when the belief was incidental to group membership, and children did not revise their beliefs when the group membership was contingent on that belief, when it was the belief-based group. There was also no difference between what happened when the puppet was there and when the puppet was absent, suggesting that maybe it's not just reputation. Okay, so we replicated the study in study 2. We made just one small change and we added a control condition, which I'll tell you about in a second. The small change was in the belief incidental condition before, they had only met one group member and that group member said they had the belief, but children wouldn't have known if any other group members had the belief, right? So maybe the problem was that they just thought it was Monkey's belief. It wasn't a group belief. So this time we just introduced them to the entire group. The whole group was monkey and squirrel. Hi, I'm monkey. Hi, I'm a squirrel. We are the orange team. We're the team. So now this time the whole group is present and the whole group agrees, and then the group assignment in those two conditions happened exactly as before. In the belief contingent condition is you can be on the team with us because you share the belief. In the belief incidental condition, we all share the same belief, but you can be on the team because you're nice and we're nice. And then in this new condition, here everybody shared the same endorsement, but the endorsement was marked as a guess. All of us on the orange team guessed that the orange blocks might make the machine go. We're not really sure. You can be on the orange team because you also made that guess. I know there's a lot of research at this conference, which I'm excited to see, on children's metacognition, especially their ability to reflect on uncertainty. What we were hoping here was that this would help the child reflect on the fact that they had actually no evidence for their initial guess. So it helps them, partially helps them enforce their own uncertainty. And also, it's a group that admits its uncertainty as well, and maybe this might be seen as something like, well, we're not really sure about everything, and maybe this kind of humility about knowledge would make the kids more open-minded. But other than that, this one is in a way more like the belief contingent condition because the group membership is contingent on that initial endorsement. And children revised their beliefs in all cases except the target case, where it was stated as a belief, it wasn't stated as uncertain, and the group membership was contingent on that belief. Okay, so in conclusion, in addition to irrational information search, we found in our study that children resist changing their mind when there's clear counter evidence presented if their beliefs are a condition of group membership. We don't think this is just conformity, because when group identity was not at stake, children were willing to revise when agreeing with a present group member. So in the case where the teammates are looking at you, they have the same belief as you, but the belief is incidental to group membership, the children were willing to say, no, our belief is wrong. We don't think it's just reputation, because they'll do it both when the team member is present and when they're absent. And they don't do it when the group displays humility about a belief, and that itself is an interesting fact, but it also provides some additional control for the effect. And we're in favor of a motivated reasoning account of this data, and a conclusion that the motivation to maintain shared beliefs for the sake of belonging to a group is early emerging and persists throughout the lifespan. And then the only last thing is, in order to unify these results with my deep commitment to child as a rational learner, I would suggest a fully motivation-based account of social learning and belief revision, with sort of truth-seeking motives on one hand that would, if you really want to find out the truth about the world and that's your deepest motive in a particular situation, rational learning takes hold. And on the other hand, these social motives, belonging, identity, maybe loyalty, maybe other things, perhaps self-interested motives could fall into this category, would lead to irrational processes. And that's my lab, my funders, my research assistants, and I did it in 14 minutes, so thank you very much.